Now, there are some other standard taxes that you typically have taken out from your paycheck, and they are Social Security and Medicare. There are a few exemptions to this, people who do not have these taxes taken out. They're very few, though. But particularly with Social Security, if it's something that you do not pay into, then you would not receive. So the vast majority of people do pay Social Security and Medicare tax. So in addition to income tax, we are required to pay the federal government FICA taxes. So together, these are called FICA taxes when you just group them together. And they are used for Social Security and Medicare benefits. Social Security provides payments to eligible retirees, people with health problems, and eligible dependents of deceased persons, as well as disabled citizens. And Medicare provides health coverage, mostly to Americans 65 and older. So again, it tends to be your retirees. Now, your book will focus on the 2016 values, which are very similar, but I thought it would be interesting here just to print out the new stuff. So this is, again, from the IRS website. And the tax rate for Social Security has actually stayed the same for a long time. It's 6.2% for employers and 6.2% for employees. So what happens with your Social Security tax is that the employee pays 6.2%, and the employer is also paying a matching 6.2% that you don't realize. So that together you're actually paying 12.4% for Social Security. If you are self-employed, you would pay the whole thing by yourself. Medicare is 1.45% for the employer and 1.45% for the employee as well, so 2.9% total. And again, these values have been the same. So these are the same values for 2016 as well. They're still current now with 2020, 2021, so on. Now, one thing to note that is a little bit different than 2016 is some of the values do change for the upper limits. So additional Medicare tax applies to an individual's Medicare wages that exceed a threshold amount based on the tax person's filing status. So employers are responsible for withholding the 0.9% additional Medicare tax on an individual's wages paid in excess of $200,000 in a calendar year, without regard to filing status. An employer is required to begin withholding this additional Medicare tax in the pay period in which the wages in excess of $200,000 to an employee, and continue withholding until the end of the calendar year. So if you're someone who makes, and this is current, not for 2016, but for current, if you're someone who makes $200,000 or more a year, then once you hit that 200,000 mark, you pay an extra 0.9% in Medicare tax. So you have a slightly extra charge there. One thing to note is that Social Security tax does have a wage-based limit, which means after a certain amount of income, you no longer have to pay Social Security taxes anymore. And the same thing is true in 2016. It was a different value, so it was $118,500. Now, the current one for 2020 is $142,800. But after this amount, you don't have to pay tax on Social Security anymore. You would just pay Medicare at that point. Okay, so there's no limit for Medicare tax. All right. Now, when you're paying your FICA taxes, I will note here that taxpayers are not permitted to subtract adjustments, exemptions, or deductions when determining your FICA taxes. So your FICA tax, your Social Security and Medicare are on your entire gross income for the year. So those deductions only work for your federal tax or sometimes for your state taxes, like Massachusetts does allow deductions and or exemptions and things like that. So that varies from state to state, but it's not allowed on your FICA taxes. So let's say you are someone who's not self-employed and you earn $150,000. What are your FICA taxes? Well, I'm going to just do them separate, although your book likes to combine them together. So for Social Security, this is a 6.2% fee. And for 2020, you pay for it up to $142,800. So beyond that, you don't have to pay Social Security anymore. And in 2016, which is in your text, the cap was $118,500. So here, what I need to do then is I'm just going to find that percent here. So let me move my decimal 2 spots to the left. So 0.062 times 142,800. And I'm just taking out my calculator here. And it's going to be $8,925. So we stop at the cap here because the 150 is over this. If you made less than the cap, then you only pay on the amount that you made. So let's say you made 50,000 for the year, then you do that 0.062 times 50,000. So you only do up to how much you make. Or if you've reached the limit, then you stop at the limit for Social Security. Now for Medicare, it's 1.45%, and there's no cap here. So it's on the full amount. So we're looking at, again, moving that decimal 2 spots to the left, 0.0145 times that 150. And it's $2,175. And again, we're not self-employed, so this is our share, and your employer would also match these shares as well. Now, for 2021, if we made more than 200,000, we'd pay extra Medicare tax, but we're at 150, so we're not included in that group. So we're all done here. So all together then, our 2 FICA taxes for the year are going to be about $11,100. And again, in general, these are taxes that everybody pays. There's always some exceptions to everything. But again, we're just trying to show you some of the big taxes that you tend to see coming out of your paycheck. Now, one thing to note, questions on the homework will likely use the 2016 values, which are given in your text on page 509. It's still the same 6.2 and 1.45%, but the upper limit is 118,500 for the Social Security tax instead of 142,000. And they don't mention any adjustments for Medicare as well after a certain amount. So just note that when you're doing the homework, they will likely have you use the old tables, not the most current tables, because it's based on the publication of the text. But if you're wondering why like your numbers are slightly different on your paycheck than what's in the text, it could be because of the dates. So things tend to change a little bit from year to year. Although the numbers for Social Security and Medicare have been pretty standard for a few years now.